All right, we're gonna call to order.
On that note.
First up is public input. Were there any emails or anything?
No emails. Nothing came in for public input.
Okay. Next up is administrative matters, approval of park board's minutes. Did everybody get a chance to look at them?
Yep. I'll make a motion to approve them.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next up is the vouchers. Anybody have any questions? Man, the HVAC system for 8,500. Woo.
Right.
It's getting expensive out there.
Yes, you know, yep.
Yeah.
Well, isn't that the historical society that pays for that stuff, or do we have to pay for it?
Yeah.
Oh, we own it?
We have it.
Yeah, I know, I mean,
You're being.
So any
I'm
questions?
a bad move.
Okay. You need to settle down.
I'm just asking the question that the Caskey House, yes,
The town parks.
it's a town facility, or it's a park facility, but our tenant is who? The historical facility.
Not a tenant. Yeah, I would consider we partner with them to manage it. With the stuff that's there.
Did this HVAC have to be historically acceptable?
We had to have heat in the building to avoid frozen pipes and make the plumbing easy to work.
Furnace and air conditioning. We won't have to worry about it for another 10 years.
Yeah,
I love it.
it is 20,000.
Okay, I just have to ask.
All right,
Motion to approve the vouchers.
Second, it's a bad.
all in favor?
Aye.
Up next is reports, the October board report.
Yeah, I have some highlights here for you for the month. Community State Park, we met with representatives from the developer regarding that park, according to final requirements, trying to get them to regrade, reseed, and remove a lot of the scrub trees out there. We believe that will be happening. They seem to be interested in trying to get that done. So, we're excited to see that happen. The 2024, we met with the Munster Civic Foundation, and they have committed to sponsoring the Civic Monday series, concert series again, which will include the Northwest Indiana Symphony. And we're going to include two, what we're calling Friday Night Live concerts, so 2 Friday night concerts out at the park, so for a total of $40,000, which I've been going for that, so we appreciate that sponsorship.
Can we go back to the light the night thing?
Yes.
Because I heard you on the radio say that, that you were asked, the parks was asked to partner with them. So what were you asked to do?
So last December, we actually, Light the Night was 1 week, the following week, we held our own activity, holiday event. In the parking lot here, that we called Winterfest. We said, well, this is silly to have 2 separate ones, so we're combining those efforts. So the efforts that we did on that day were some of the games, we're gonna bring that as part of this Light the Night. So there's more activity here, because at the Light the Night, other than Visit with Stana, which was waiting in line for 45 minutes, and fireworks, which we're not sure if fireworks is gonna happen this year, we don't believe that it will. That was a donation from Crazy Gatlins. So we wanted to make sure that there was other activities out there. We also are helping try to find some other activities to make available that the Civic Foundation would also pay for, including a bounce house, and I think we're gonna do pony rides, and we're finalizing the details, maybe an ice sculpture out there. Other things that's more to make it more of an event, so that's what we're partnering with them. But we're still getting close. We haven't finalized all those details on it, but we are working together with them. Unfortunately, that's the same night as our, that night we go to the high school to set up for the craft show and mark off all the spaces, so it's a tight night for us, but some of the work ahead of time and make sure to get that done.
We'll look for the OT on the next vouchers.
Yeah. The Parks and Recreation Master Plan, we're gonna meet on October 24th with the Master Plan Steering Committee, the staff steering committee that we set up, and then they'll also be inventorying all of our parks, so that'll be beginning that process for the updated master plan. Moving on, our Pumpkin Witches and Hay Rides event was on Saturday, October 7th. We had about 1,000 attendees out there for that night's event. Into the maintenance section, we did complete the electrical upgrades over at the social center with Midwestern Electric. We closed for a couple of weeks out there to get the building rewired. While that was happening, we also repainted the washroom, so we took advantage of doing some other work to the facility. We also now have a backup generator on the social center, so however it goes out, we don't have to call some rental up and say, sorry, you can't have your party today with all your preparations. So that's nice to have that. Branches out at Briar Creek Park were picked up. They were covered in poison ivy. We also had to spray that whole west fence line with, to make sure and try and cut that back and kill that off there. That's
Yeah,
all.
I got a couple calls on that, by the way. The branches were right along the bike path.
Yeah.
And apparently kids didn't realize, and a couple of people in my neighborhood said that their kids got it.
Got it as well.
Because they weren't, no, I didn't even see anything either about poison ivy. They were just cut branches along the bike path.
It was our guys who were cutting them down. Rocky went out for a while and honestly with him out and we were short, we kind of forgot about it. And then by the time we got back out there, it did lapse some time. So.
Yeah, well, just make sure you put something up as a warning, some.
Yeah, we have a troublesome there area. I mean, Kevin's working on trying to cut it back as best we can. I mean, some of these natural areas out in our parks, I mean, we have it. I mean, it's out there.
It's everywhere.
Beaker Woods, Heritage Estates.
Oh, no, I get that for sure. I'm just talking about it was cut down. They were all laying
Yeah.
along like for half a mile along like.
Yeah. I'm surprised they get it because usually once it's cut, but it must have been quickly after.
It was
cut,
right
they must have
after,
caught it.
apparently.
Yeah, it's still contagious. I mean, you
Yeah.
can get it.
And
When
it's
it's
easily
dead.
remedied, but it's
Yeah.
still a
Yeah.
pain in the butt.
Yeah.
Over at Heritage Park by the Cassidy House, we're doing some work and partnering with the gardening club, who's having Allen Lake Landscaping do some work out there. We removed some bushes and flagstone in front of the Cassidy House, trying to partner and beautify that park. We have a supportive group from the garden club and some other individuals in town that want us to do some help out, offer some help out there. So we're taking advantage of that while we do some of the work, but hopefully they'll also be doing a decent amount of it as well. September at the golf course was definitely a slow month. Hopefully we are looking to have a strong finish towards the end of the season here with pro shop sales and a membership drive at the end of the year where we do the annual. You get the rest of this year for free if you sign up for next year. So that's slowly coming in as well. The aeration of the greens out of the golf course was done on October 3rd. Tees were started about a week later. Those will be wrapped up here soon. In fact, they may have been wrapped up as of this week. We did have our first frost out there October 10th. Leaves are starting to blow on the golf course, so there becomes a maintenance issue there. Luckily, we that happens about the same time grass slows down, so we can adjust what the staff is doing out there. The irrigation line at Clayhole Lake, so we have a line that goes from Clayhole that feeds water, that pumps water into Maynard Lake, which is ultimately to help supply water to irrigate all of Centennial Park, including the golf course. Was covered up by the developers' work on the western edge of Centennial Village at the western edge there, so we've been meeting with them. Yeah, they covered up our intake line and pump, so we were meeting out there this week and.
How does that happen if he's not supposed to fill in a lake?
I think our line was, well, he had permission supposedly, the parcel that they own is on that western edge, and supposedly from what we've been told, they have permissions to regrade and reestablish that shoreline. Unfortunately, where the irrigation intake was, I'm not sure if that was on our parcel or
No, I'm just
theirs.
asking, I mean, it's generally rare from the world that I live in to be able to fill in. I mean, but if he's got permission, he certainly has to have a permit, so that permit is probably there somewhere.
Yeah. So we're working with them to try to get that reestablished. Fortunately, this is the time of year, we're just getting ready to blow out all of our irrigation for the winter, so we have some time to get this done before next spring, so. That's something the last couple of days just popped up that wasn't typed in there, but wanted to report it. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Items for discussion is the full season option recommendation.
So we put together a lot of detail. I know Rob and Scott, you guys weren't at the last meeting, but I don't know if you got the chance to see it. We reiterated some of that stuff in this recommendation memo for you. So some of the pros and cons that we looked at as far as the consideration of extending the pool season through the weekends, through Labor Day, through the holiday. That's something that unfortunately we had some days looking at this year's schedule, we had some days where it would have been too cool to open, but we had some other extremely hot days where we would have wanted to open, including Labor Day weekend itself this last year. School this past year had a very early start date of August 8th. We closed August the 6th, I think was our last day, if I recall, off the top of my head. Their school date is, for the next coming year, is being pushed back. So with it starting August 12th, we would propose that we would go to, well, on the second page, we had two different options that we looked at and kind of considered. And we wanted to, we tried to put some financial dollars to it to, understand, hey, what does that impact, from a dollars and cents standpoint. We believe that if we open Memorial Day weekend as we always have and take the season through Sunday, August 11th, that actually buys us or it gets us 7 more days of pool operation for 2024 than we had in 2023. And we feel that we can do that at a break even goal from a financial standpoint. If we anticipate opening up through the weekends through Labor Day for an additional 7 days, 3 weekends, because we still have to maintain the pool all through the week, even when we're closed. All the activities that we have there, the water quality issues, the chemicals continue to operate. We expect that we would take a loss of about 16,000 and change to have it open for that. That also, I think we repeatedly said over the past few years, the difficulty it is to get guards, especially when August hits. I think we're saying we can go to the 11th. We're going to try like heck. I mean, that would be our recommendation. Obviously, there's always the consideration if the guards are not available, we don't have a choice, but they're not open. So that would be, our intent would be to make sure to take it through to the 11th as far as what we would advertise for this coming year. So looking at the two options, number one and number two, number one, ending the pool season August 11th, number two, taking it through Labor Day weekend. As we put these numbers together and we looked at it as a staff perspective, we are recommending to include the option number one as our details for this coming 2024 pool season. With basically the fees and everything else would remain the same as what it was for this past year. The only difference there, we did move up our early bird. We did move up our early bird registration date last year for pool passes. We want to continue that. That seemed to work well this past year as well. So with that, our recommendation would be to approve those operational details. That's on the page 4 and 5 of your memo that we have in your packet for today. But we're happy to hear and discuss any further changes and edits if you want us to consider that.
Regarding the employment challenges that you talked about, I think Kristen had suggested some partnership with School Town Munster as far as certification, lifeguard certifications. Have we gotten anywhere on that?
Yeah, I don't know if we've made any inroads yet at this point.
She's reached out to Anna about it, but there's been no feedback from.
So we can't depend on that.
Yeah, what's the guarantee in the long run of that?
Well, and I think that we would also want to look at doing our own class potentially, regardless of the school, at least to try to offer something during the season. It'll be tough and tight to fit in, but that is something that we want to look at and obviously, extend out when we do our recruitment, opening it up to others, adults. I mean, so maybe we're less reliant upon teenagers.
Right.
As the core age group of employees.
Yeah, I agree. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I also think that can we offer our own certification at the school? Can we just ask to use the school on a particular day to do a certification?
Yeah, that's definitely one of the options we could look at. We're gonna look and explore that opportunity to try to pull in more staff. Even on the dates that we've been open in the past, we feel that we were understaffed. We want to make sure to get more lifeguards into that pool of available staff.
Yeah.
Because there are times traditionally, Lollapalooza weekend, where we're getting by.
It's like you've had that effect before. What do you mean? Like, does that burn in your head, the Lollapalooza? Like,
Yeah.
I
A
understand.
lot of.
Yeah, it's a challenge. That's the thing to be at and be seen at, so,
Yeah.
I
that's
guess I need to go.
reputation.
Oh, it sounds like torture to me.
I would.
That's one.
At first, I was fine.
Yeah.
And then the weekend thing is open just Saturdays and Sundays or Friday, Saturday, Sundays?
This would be just Saturdays and Sundays. I think Fridays would be really difficult if once high school football starts, which is basically as soon as the school year starts.
Yeah,
You know, the kids want to be at that. And the college kids, of course, that, you know, we're gonna lose them early August. So we're at that, if we extended any of those days, we're gonna be reliant upon high school, the core group of staffing, unless it's college kids that are local enough that are still home. That, or if they come back home to work on a weekend, they get a couple more hours, or a few more days of work.
Do most of our guards participate in fall sports?
Not just sports, just any of those a lot of them do, and the extracurriculars in the fall, I mean, you know, Munster High School has really got a lot of good participation, I think, and, you know, not, football obviously is a big one, but it's volleyball, boys and girls soccer, it's cross country, it's marching band, you get kids already starting right away into their, you know, NHS type of things, you start, you know, homecoming committees start being put together right as soon as that school year starts, so you get the people who are really active at the school level. And a lot of times that's the kids we're employing. I mean, that's the ones that want to work. I mean, the ones that aren't involved with stuff, typically, you know, we're not getting those kids, which, oh yeah, I'm just gonna work the job and call it a day.
right.
And if you're talking about closing Sunday, August 11th as the last day, how many of those kids are in link crew and have that 4-hour presentation with freshmen? Because that's a big thing that day too.
Yeah,
My daughter does that.
yeah, no,
You would lose people on that.
it's a challenge, you're right. I mean, we're trying to meet and extend that season as long as we can. I mean, some of that is fingers crossed, but hopefully the thought is that, you know, we can find enough bodies to get through there. Some of our hope at that late time of the year, as we were talking about training lifeguards during the season, is some of our younger ones who start out as attendants that are working the cashier desk or maybe just the attendant at slides, that if we offer a class during the summer, that they take us up on that class, and maybe by the late year, we can start putting them into that rotation as guards. So that would be more of our youngest of, you know, staffing, but at least to get us through that August time period until the school season starts. School year.
More questions? Comments?
I mean, it's all about training, but there's a lot of things that interfere with young people's world.
True, but the world doesn't revolve around them either, so I think that we have to do a better job of recruiting.
And we can, and here's
Offering the class, the certification classes.
yeah, here's my thought is simply advertise option one. If we see, and I know that Kevin's having an issue, but if we see that this summer may extend to be something ridiculous warm, we can make the decision and try to figure out how to staff it if possible. But I wouldn't guarantee that to anyone. I appreciate I appreciate the women that came here and that want to do it and that sort of thing. But I also appreciate the fact, and I'm gonna go back to it because I'm in a bad mood, that we did say 100 and some people. And if you sort of try to skimp on that and try to go, oh, well, we can only do it with 3 people, then that becomes an issue.
Yeah.
So,
But I also refer back to Kristen's comments on her daughter being on the swim team. Most of them didn't even know that they could get a summer job or get certification. So I guess that's what I'm saying is that if you have a whole pool of students that don't even know that they could get a summer job, just have to get certified, then that opens things up a little bit. I just think we're being really pessimistic as far as like the opportunities. You're looking at your history of recruiting, which hasn't been successful, understood, and with maybe some better partnership with the school board, and we could get more.
and that's why I agree with you. That's why I was saying, but for advertising's sake, because we need to get this out there,
Yeah.
you advertise on the 11th. Now, all of a sudden, if the entire girls swim team wants to go come be thing, then we go, hey, guess what? Social media, we have enough connections in this world that we go, hey, guess what? This year only, we're gonna extend it to whatever.
Yeah.
And then you extend it, but for this purpose, I think they're under a deadline of advertising, and I don't think, what if their whole girls swim team doesn't wanna do it? Or maybe they do. I mean, and I think it's a great idea, and I think Kristen's idea is a great idea. I am not affiliated with the school, so I have no clue anyone's interest.
One of the challenges that we do run across is the school has their own pool that they actually use guards for as well, a lot of times at the same time. having even kind of stolen some of our guards as well. So that there is competing interests that are out there. I mean, you know, where guards can go and find other
During
opportunities
the summer,
during the summer, yes. Yeah,
for classes or for just open swim?
for activity of wherever.
I don't know what they
guards
have,
are.
but it's been numerous times where our guards have went there to have just an indoor facility, a cooler atmosphere than to be outside in the heat.
But again, I think that the other area that I think that I'm excited about is Abby, our rec supervisors, we've had a lot of turnover. You guys have been here a lot longer than me. Our typical rec supervisor duration is about 2 years. We're beyond that with that. I'm hoping that she's here.
So she's
long-
winning, is
long
that
with
what you're
time.
saying?
And well, no, I'm not, but that's also in the back of my mind. If she walks, I mean, there's that opportunity where now somebody brand new coming in and they have to build these relationships and make these, you know, that's an experience that they have to adjust for. But if, I think that with her learning through this process, I think she will have better connections. And I think that, you know, we're trying to guide her and lead her through that. So we can do that with the recruiting side of it, especially. I mean, that's an area where we need to get better at. I mean, we have to get the word out better, earlier, sooner, not just be reliant upon, oh, whatever lifeguard walks in and applies to us, but hey, we actively go out and seek them.
Right. Well,
So-
and just plan better and partner with, I mean, we can talk to the month coach at the high school to see, what are you doing in the summer? And why are you taking our guards?
Yeah.
Don't do that again.
Well, the other challenge in there, Mike, is the aquatics coordinator at the school is our former pool manager. Former pool manager.
Okay, and you have a bad relationship with that
Um,
former?
She was not SBAC
Okay.
from a couple of years ago. So there's some animosity there.
There could be some.
So that creates a little bit of a challenge at the time. I mean, but again, I mean, still not one that we hopefully can't get past, but that would be our intention.
How about that?
Not for option one.
Okay, so I'll make that motion.
I am for option 2.
Oh, all right. Well, I'm in for the option one with a hybrid of saying if the weather indicates that we have a stellar group of people from the girls swim team, we can always move it out. But we would know that in advance because, but for purposes of advertising, I would hate to advertise for option 2 and then go, whoops, I don't have enough people.
Well, and the season passes also, so you're giving.
Yeah, well, stand up. It'll be a bonus to
Yeah.
them. I can,
Yeah, it's like a
Sure.
freebie.
You can move forward with option one. You can get caught in option two.
Yeah.
So option one makes more sense because we can't extend it if we wanted to, if we have the person.
Yeah, I mean, option one gives us that flexibility to be able to do that. Option 2, to go backwards and reduce it, people will come in and say, hey, I paid for
Right.
all these dates, and now you're pulling them away from me, give me a credit, give me a refund.
Right.
No, I understand.
we'll revisit it, but for this purpose, we'll do option 1. And my motion is option 1. And that's all I got.
We need a second.
I second.
All in favor?
I,
Aye. Any nays?
Yeah.
Yeah.
that,
All right,
Bring
next up.
Names are fine.
Nays are fun.
It'll be a day.
All right, it's okay.
I've been enabled.
Pro shop, change order 1.
So we knew change orders were gonna be coming on this type of
Right.
project. I mean, that was gonna be the case. So we have 2 different change order requests. Number 2, which was for pile testing. That was an addition to the contract of $16,250. This was desired to meet the, you know, by the town to make sure that the necessary load requirements would be met and documented into a report. So we have that in writing, and that got reviewed by Akhtar from AES Services, who is a company that we use to verify all of our testing during this construction process. So that's part of change order 1. The other part of change order number 1 is change order request number 3, which is a deduction of $156,005 to the overall contract to remove the landscaping portion from the Hassey construction contract. They anticipate Hassey as a non-union shop. They would have had issues with the rest of their contract their staff, their labor unions
they're-
and
Cassie's union, Hubinger is non-union.
Huber's now.
Well, they're not
Yes.
signatory to the unions that Hassie's signatory to.
Yes, thank
They
you.
don't recognize that union.
Roger that one.
So collectively, so the idea there, we met with Hassie, they brought that up to us. There's been some other examples that Tom's been involved with schools in the area, that Hassie's been involved with, that, where they've done this and the agency is able to directly contract with the vendor. In this case, it would be up with Hubinger's, which would be gonna be our next item on the agenda. But, assuming you look to approve this and recommend this particular change order. Collectively, the two change orders for this would be a deduction of $139,750 to Hassie's contract, which would be supported by the attached documents to them.
So did Hassie, was Hubinger a part of Hassie's bid?
Yes, they were the low bidder. The next guy was a lot more.
Right. But they were a part. They were a team.
Yeah, but they ran into this in the past.
So why would they be a part of a team if they're not signatory?
I think they were part of it because we actually, CSK used them to design the landscaping for this
All right.
project.
And they installed the original.
All right, so here's my second question. This goes back to Octar. So before we even built this thing or designed this thing, we had Octar go out there and make sure the soil was good and do a bunch of borings, right?
Yeah.
So why did we have to do another pile test for it if we knew what the material was underneath it?
The soil borings were strictly just to find out what was there. The piling, that once the pile was driven,
To
they
go to
needed
that
to
rock.
do a test to make sure that it would hold the load that they say that of the building, to make sure that it exceeds that, yes, it's going to hold. the
But why
load.
wouldn't that be in the original, like someone when they already wouldn't have Hassie known that this was gonna happen or need to happen?
We didn't require it as part of the scope of work. Octar brought that to our attention and, it's just.
Well, I don't want the building to collapse. I'm just
That would be
asking,
bad.
I'm just asking the question because like, I was in a situation where we had to load a piece of equipment off of a truck. And they tried to do a change order to charge us for the crane. Well, I mean, it's common sense that you would need a crane to get it
Yeah.
off, so why didn't you include it?
Yeah.
That's not either here nor there, but
There was a specification that there was some proof, it had to hold up to the design of, the stalwart, the
Yes.
subcontractor that's doing those piles. We wanted the written report and the opportunity to have. our-
well, by the way, they started, I heard it this morning early, they were all pretty good.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And then on that change order, Hassie then can charge 10% for the first $10,000?
We received a
I'm just
credit.
asking, I don't know,
Yeah,
I
that's,
didn't read the contract.
we keep the rules, so they can only mark up the first, 10,000 so much, and then the rest is 5%. So, cause they'll play games, they'll charge you 15% if they can. So,
Right. Now, so they would do that because they're good corporate citizens.
the bonus here is that Hassie's given back their markup on Hubinger's, work. So that pays for half the file test.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you take the second amendment with Hubinger, really, it looks like the net effect of this change order is not 16,000, it's like
Right.
10 or 8 or whatever it is, because there was a markup on the Hubinger thing that Hubinger is gonna deal with us directly.
Right,
That's just
exactly.
fine.
It's a bonus.
My days are still okay with
But I think it's a
understanding.
good idea. We did the file test and.
No, I agree, I just wasn't sure why it
But it
wasn't.
isn't like, but we had it included in the contract as you caught, 5% for the, 10% for the first $1,000 of any change order, then after that's only 5%, so there is control.
I want that building there, so we have a building for Dave Servin to be able to go into on a daily basis, so that's what I really care about. So I'm just happy, I'm done, I'll make a motion to approve the change order. Let someone else ask a question.
Any other questions?
I'm
Any
sorry,
second?
bad mood.
Any second?
Second.
All in favor?
You're bad.
Aye.
Aye.
I didn't want to say anything.
That's why I'm standing over here.
All right,
Yes.
yes, So up next is the Pro Shop Cart Storage Building Project landscaping award.
So with removing the HASI, this is the award back to Hubinger for the landscape work. We actually went through, because it was at that threshold, we actually formally bid it out again, opened it up to anybody to do that work. Nobody bid it. So at that point, the rules that we have to be able to follow, we can go negotiate with anybody. We said, well, Hubinger's the likely person here. Let's go talk to them. We already had a price. They were willing to hold it at the proposed price that they had submitted originally to HASI. They were the original landscape firm that did all of the landscaping out at Centennial Park. For a number of years, they were even the maintenance firm that took care of the park for us. I know we've used them in other projects in the past with good success. And we would recommend approving the landscaping award to Hubinger's in a cost of $148,100 for this project.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, an update on the construction of the pro shop and cart storage building.
So the site work, including the removal of the old asphalt pathways and additional removal of the retaining walls continues. The retaining wall breaks have all been removed and stored for reuse. The staff continues to meet every other week with the contractor and architects for progress meetings. Submittals for verification continue to be reviewed by the architect and the owner's rep as necessary, just to verify colors and all the various details of those to make sure what the items get ordered are the appropriate ones that we want for the facility. There will be a change order. I know I mentioned this before, but I just want to reiterate, there will be another change order coming as the fire department is requiring us to install a fire hydrant closer to the new building. That change order will be more than $50,000. We saw an initial cost just for doing the piping is just above that. There's some other small ancillary things that they need to also add to that. So we didn't have that ready for today's meeting. So that'll likely be at one of your next park board meetings coming forward. And then the first two test pilings were installed. Construction slowed down as we waited for that testing verification of those pilings and to put together that change order. It was considered best practice to have those loads tested on the first couple of piles to make sure they meet the required threshold. The work was supervised and reviewed by AES representing the town's interests. That load verification was reported as satisfactory by Akhtar from AES, and the remaining piles started this week out to be installed. So you'll see when they drive the piles, you'll see some metal still sticking up. That's where, if they've gotten to the threshold where they need to be, they'll slice them off at that point once they're done installing all the new ones. So that's it for the construction, unless you have any questions on anything. I was here, might be a link.
Well, the other thing I want to mention is that the piles, as tested, can carry double the capacity that we require them to.
Good, let's do it right.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Comments?
It's on time, going good, everything good? Relatively?
Well, we lost them maybe a week or so on piles, right?
Nice.
The old pro shop hasn't moved?
Hasn't moved. We've been doing the monitoring in the building and during the pilings and everything else. We're not getting the only notices of the warning were when they dropped the table in the hallway, moving a table inside the building. So that is the only time that the one of the meter that's upstairs went off, but yeah, otherwise we're getting a weekly report they've been all good for us.
Okay.
Good.
Next up is adjournment.
Nope.
Motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hey,
See you in November.
I'm gonna be the name.
You, okay,
It's okay to name.
one day.